Well, it's finally here, or it finally happened, I should say. Tulsi Gabbard finally officially announced and held her campaign rally in Hawaii. And might I say, wow, Tulsi is just in a different stratosphere. And just speaking wise, has gotten much better from the last time I've seen her speak like that. And the message, well, let's just say it was far and away better than anybody else who's announced thus far. Not even close. And honestly, the message was so substantive that I want to make sure that we cover these individually so that over the next year and a half, as you will be combated with people saying that, oh, Tulsi isn't strong on this. She hasn't mentioned this. She doesn't deal with this. She da 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 da. Don't worry. One-stop shop right here. So we'll be releasing these videos in series or in a series. But the first thing we're going to cover is what personally is my favorite part because it really encompasses basically all of the other problems that we are dealing with in this country. And that is the overreach and, let's be honest, straight up lies of our intelligence agencies. Let's hear what Tulsi has to say about that.
We must stand up against the big Wall Street banks who gamble with our money and our future. Stand up against overreaching intelligence agencies and big tech companies who take away our civil liberties, privacy, and freedoms in the name of national security and corporate greed.
I mean, I don't know if you all know this, but Tulsi at that moment was really channeling her inner JFK because really, I would say it was JFK who was the first president, basically at this point, the only president, and really anyone who is like a politician in a high-ranking office or was competing for one who openly called out the intelligence community. If you all recall, unfortunately, that did not go well. Now, what does Tulsi mean? For those of you who don't understand how important this issue is, I need you to really understand why what Tulsi was saying is so powerful. It's so necessary. But for her as a candidate and for her as an alive human being, it is dangerous because the intelligence community has a way of silencing people who disagree with their motives. Now, the intelligence community, for some reason, is propped up as, this authoritative figure that has no biases, and they just work based off of information and nothing else. Completely objective. They don't care about money. Why would they care about something like that? Well, I'm telling you, as a person who's worked in the Army, been attached to intelligence units, as a person who has family who used to be part of the intelligence community, not too long ago, as a person who knows people who were in the intelligence community who left because of some of the things that they saw. As a person who knows this history, I'm telling you, our intelligence communities in their current state probably should be disbanded. Like, they're that bad. I'm not saying that everybody who works for intelligence community is bad, but at the top, they give the orders, they receive the contracts, they get the money. It's that simple. They get paid off by lobbyists just like Congress people do. The problem with intelligence communities is that they're directors, they're leaders, they're not elected officials. They're appointed by somebody who also has an agenda that they want served. There's a reason that Comey was, I think, the first intelligence director to be fired, to my recollection. And it's because, like, straight up fired, like in a way that was not like, okay, hey, I'm just ushering somebody in. Here's your resignation. Nah, it was like, you're fired. You're doing a bad job. That was the first firing because pretty much everybody else brings in their own intelligence guy, or they expect the intelligence community or whoever the director is expects the new administration to just conduct business as usual. So what Tulsi is saying or has said is powerful because I'm just going to give you a couple of examples of how the intelligence community has overreached. Do you want to go recent? Okay. The NSA investigated a guy in Florida. They were tapping his phone calls. They got caught. Guess what happened? They were sued, of course, right? Why wouldn't you sue? But probably much like yourself, or much like you would expect, the outcome didn't favor the person who sued the NSA because Kavanaugh, bailed the NSA out and then made it completely and totally legal for the NSA to do what the hell they wanted to do as far as tapping everyone's phone lines. They hear basically everything. So, overreach, right? That's just a simple example. James Comey, former FBI director, he elected, as per the memos that were released by the director of what was it called? The director of it's the guy who's in charge of basically making sure that the FBI is doing what they're supposed to do. And for some reason, it's slipping my mind right now. But you know who I'm talking about. The memos show that Comey elected not to tell the American people that the Clinton Foundation was under investigation. Now, if you all recall, Hillary Clinton in her debates kept trying to pretend as if what the Clinton Foundation was doing was legal, that anybody who asserted that, well, this stuff really happened while the Clinton Foundation was at the helm and you didn't even close it down while you were in one of the most powerful positions in the world, and your Clinton Foundation was connected to the Uranium One deal, and all of that stuff was being investigated and I believe is actually still under investigation. Comey knew this and said that he didn't want to tell people, but you told us about the email investigation. Why wouldn't we want to know if our president is using her nonprofit organization to personally profit and give out favors not only domestically but around the world? I think that's some pretty important information that we should know if we want to vote for her. I think so. That was an FBI overreach. Don't you think? Also, when he decided personally, because we found out later that FBI, that Comey was connected and like the Clintons were connected to him and Andrew McCabe was Comey's friend and Comey shot him to the side. We found out they were all connected, long story short. Comey decides not to indict Hillary Clinton because she didn't show intention to do anything illegal. Because we all know intention means everything when it comes to the law. Despite the fact intention or knowledge of the law is the number one argument used to not justify breaking it. It doesn't matter. Did you break it? That's the question. The only thing that will make it decide, the only thing that would probably decide if you broke the law, or the only thing that would probably be decided by how or why you broke the law, is like the amount of time you may serve. But at the end of the day, we didn't even get a chance to properly investigate because she never got indicted. And then it came out, of course, that the FBI was correcting things in memos, correcting things in the investigative paperwork. That's all overreach. For Comey was tied to the Clinton Foundation as well. So that's just another example of corporations and nonprofits using our intelligence community and the military-industrial complex and the fear-mongering and propaganda, because Comey was a propagandized tool to try and persuade the American people that this warmongering psychopath was the best one to be president of the United States and represent the Democratic Party in that election. That's just another example. Andrew McCabe being put on the Russiagate investigation, knowing full well that his wife was accepting money from Hillary Clinton, that Hillary Clinton was going around stumping for his wife in Virginia in a race in which Andrew McCabe's wife lost, but nonetheless, it doesn't make any sense. Andrew McCabe had clear vested interests with Hillary Clinton being around, not being under investigation. And yet, Comey appointed Andrew McCabe knowing about all their connections. That's another example of intelligence overreach. But not only domestically do we have to worry about intelligence overreach and lies, but abroad as well. Because, well, what happened with the war in Iraq? Lies. It was all lies. What I mean, I think that's kind of like, remember, the whole, we're pretty sure there's weapons of mass destruction. We're still looking for those weapons of mass destruction to this day. Somewhere, Bush is in the sandbox in Iraq, digging with his little shovel and pail, searching for those weapons of mass destruction. But that's just one example abroad. Remember when the intelligence community said that Syria had the people of Syria had been subject to a chemical attack by Assad under the Obama administration and under the Trump administration? Remember how they were so sure about it? Positively sure. And then Mad Dog Mattis comes out and tells us there's never been any proof whatsoever of a chemical attack happening in Syria, that has happened in Syria. But then he subsequently said, oh, but we're going to find some, which basically means we've been trying to overthrow Assad for no reason. Remember when Tulsi Gabbard tweeted out not too long ago, maybe 3 months ago, the United States is paying Al-Qaeda to be in Syria. We're paying them. She called out Trump on it. Remember, she introduced the Stop Arming Terrorists Act and then Stop Financing Terrorism Act that basically nobody voted for because of the military-industrial complex. You're getting it. So Tulsi knows her history clearly, and she's seen how history has been manipulated by the intelligence communities to convince us that we have to be in endless wars and that we have to be in wars that we have no right to be in. How about another example? The Dulles brothers. John, who was the Secretary of State, and Allen, who was the director of the CIA. And they were both known to be bloody, racist as hell, which seems to be a common theme for directors of the CIA and sometimes the FBI. That just seems to be a common theme for all these alphabet agencies. And you wonder why their policies reflect that. And I'm going to give another example about how true that really is. But the Dulles brothers overthrew the Iranian government, most specifically the democratically elected President Mossadegh, who wanted to nationalize oil. That was in 1953. It was based 100% and totally off of lies that he's a communist. We don't trust him. He nationalized oil because he wants communists to take it. Right after that, we found out that the CIA was involved. Obviously, I wouldn't be able to tell you if they weren't. We found out they were involved. We found out it was for oil. And that once again was another example of an overreach. In December 1955, during his involvement with the Montgomery bus boycotts, the FBI engaged in covert operations against Martin Luther King throughout the entire 1960s. J. Edgar Hoover was actually the FBI director then. And he actually believed that the civil rights movement, specifically MLK's involvement and his passion about the movement, was inspired and propagated by communists because God forbid black people want equal rights. Think about, and these are the most recent. Oh, the final example, since she does quote JFK quite often and is apparently in trying to embody JFK in this election, which I think will go over very well with the people. They still haven't released the documents for how JFK was killed and the conspiracy behind it. Because it was a conspiracy, and the intelligence community is purposely keeping it out of the public eye. Who the hell are you to hide the reasons behind the death of one of the most revolutionary presidents in history? Well, it's because the reason that president in particular is one of the most revolutionary is because he tried to bring the intelligence community to heel, and they refused to allow him to. So when I tell you, if this is your first time hearing about Tulsi Gabbard, if this is it, right, this fact alone will help you understand why, or these facts alone should help you understand why that statement, listen, the civil rights movements, our civil rights leaders, our former presidents, other assassinations, wars started abroad, drug wars started at home, all start with that intelligence community. And she called them out. No one else has done that. No one else. They say, yeah, we don't want to go to war. Yeah, we don't want to have these, we don't want to have these issues. Oh, but we're going to call out dictators with, that make their decisions based off of legislatures and they have active government. But listen, we're going to call out dictators. Well, who's like we could just talk about Maduro, for example. Well, Maduro's a dictator and he's evil. Okay, who said? Well, the FBI and the CIA. Oh, because they're so trustworthy. They always get it right. Well, Assad's a dictator and he's also evil. Okay, well, says who? Well, they said he shot them with gas. And no, Mattis said that wasn't true. Oh, well, look at his suit. He looks like he has an evil guy suit. He talks so well. He has to be evil. Well, Saddam has weapons of mass destruction. Oh, really? Who said that? The same ones who get it wrong every single time. All of the problems, much of them, that could have been avoided were not avoided because of the intelligence community's involvement. Martin Luther King himself was killed by this government. These are facts. The government was found guilty of conspiring against Martin Luther King in 1999. The FBI was involved. The police department was involved. And you think that J. Edgar Hoover literally saying the civil rights movement was inspired by communists had nothing to do with that? This is the legacy Tulsi is about to lay down, and this is revolutionary and should be taken as such. So bravo, Tulsi. Thank you so much for saying what many of us have been screaming at the top of our lungs. Something that many of us have been saying is obvious for years, but no one had the courage to stand up to them. And I'm excited to see you get your chance to do so. Thanks for watching that segment of Mi Casa es Su Casa. You can donate to our Patreon and keep helping the network grow by clicking on the link in the description below. And also, make sure you join us at JustNForm.com. And finally, make sure you subscribe to us on Roku and be part of the very first independent news network on Roku TV. But more than anything else, always remember, find your balance. Peace. Hey, don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you like that segment of Mi Casa es Su Casa. Also, you can help us upgrade the studio and take this show on the road to cover the on-the-ground politics that you love by clicking on that GoFundMe link in the description and donating literally anything. Anything helps. Also, you can follow us on Rockfin, on Twitter and on Facebook as well. And hey, more than anything else, people, always remember, find your balance. Peace.